Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our Adobe Creative Cloud 2015 update webinar. I'm Luke Kiernan, the Adobe specialist here at Byte Software Services, and I'm joined today by Iona Walters, Senior Solutions Consultant from Adobe, and also Edward Pontoni, a Channel Account Manager from Adobe.
Hi everybody, hopefully you can hear me okay. Thanks so much for joining today. I am going to show you a few things that have been announced recently at Adobe MAX, our big creativity conference in LA that happened in October. Some of what I'm going to show you is released now. Some of the mobile apps are already out there. Some of what I'm going to show you is in pre-release stage and is due to release later on this month, towards the end of this month. So I'm actually working with quite a lot of pre-release builds of the software at the moment. We don't have access to the final version, so I've tried to get hold of whatever I can to show you some bits and pieces with our desktop applications as well. So I've got some really cool stuff to show you. What I want to talk about a little bit is some of the connectivity that is now in existence as part of your Creative Cloud subscription. So not only do you have access to the world's leading creative desktop applications, which you know and love, but also a whole host of powerful connected mobile applications, as well as all of your synchronized assets and fonts and tools. So this is all made possible by something we now call Creative Sync, and that's powered through the Creative Cloud platform, and it gives you access to everything that you see here. So I can easily access from an online environment, from within my mobile applications, as well as from directly within my desktop applications in a lot of cases as well, all of these elements here. So I can access my Creative Cloud files, and you'll see this is my Creative Cloud file space online. I also have it synchronizing with my desktop. I just jump over to this Assets tab here through the Creative Cloud desktop application, and if I just bring up the folder, here we go. So this is completely mirrored. So any changes I make to any documents that I'm working on locally on this machine are automatically synchronized, as you know, through the Creative Cloud platform to my online environment, so I can access it wherever I may need to, and particularly at the moment through my very powerful mobile applications. The other thing I have access to is something called Creative Cloud Libraries, and this is in addition to your Creative Cloud folder structure and file space online, and this enables you to really work across desktop applications, across teams, across your mobile applications, move seamlessly between your assets online and offline, and you can add assets to your libraries from within your desktop applications as well as from your mobile applications, and we're going to see some of that in action in a little while. If I just jump into one of these libraries here, you can see there's a whole variety of elements within here. There's lots of smart objects, images. I've got some JPEGs, PNGs, some SVGs in there as well. I've got some Illustrator created icons you can see. I can also add color palettes into there. I can add text formatting styles, all that kind of thing. And again, we're going to see how important that is to be able to access when we come to work in the mobile environment. So I really look at using these libraries as a kind of style Bible for the particular projects that I'm working on. If I just jump into the new version of Photoshop here, I've got a very basic document I've got open here, but you can see I've got my Creative Cloud Libraries panel from within this space, and I've actually got a new feature in the November release of this, which enables me to create a library from my document. Now this is really handy because it will take a look at all of the elements within the document, and it will pull out all of the specific library elements that I choose. If I just click on this, you can see I've got the option here of taking in color styles and character styles, and colors. I've actually got elements in here that are already within a library, so the images themselves won't be brought in, but you can see here all of the font formatting styles have been quickly added for me. So I can choose what I add to libraries. I can also drag and drop elements into a library like that. So there's a graphic on in there, and that's got a little tag saying that it's a Photoshop graphic, which means at any point I can right click on it and go and edit that particular instance of that library item, and then if I've used it elsewhere in my compositions, any changes I make to this library asset will be updated across those compositions. So it's really, really super handy for me to keep track and make sure I've got the latest version of any graphics that I'm working with. The other thing that I can do from this element here is to collaborate on a library or to share a link to a library. Now, if I share a link, that means that whoever I share that with gets a copy of that library, so they can't actually edit or make any changes to the library that I've started off with. So I may want to do that if I want to make sure that nobody else has got editing control over my work. Or if I'm working in a team environment and I need everybody to make sure that they have the correct version of that asset running across all of the instances that they've used it in their compositions, then I can choose to collaborate on that. So in the same way that I can collaborate or share files within the Creative Cloud file space, I can also do that with libraries. Now, your storage of libraries and the elements within it is all just free with Adobe, so it doesn't take up part of your storage allocation. You just get as much space as you need to store and use these graphics online. So there we go. Those are libraries within the offline desktop environments, although it's not offline because of course I'm connected to the Creative Cloud there, but in my desktop environment. If I jump now back to my browser, the other thing that I can do is to browse Adobe Stock. Now, here's the stock environment online. I have got a subscription of Adobe Stock running alongside my Creative Cloud subscription. Now, the other thing that I can do, though, is to actually browse for stock images from within my desktop applications as well. I'm just going to jump back into here because we're going to see this in action from the mobile applications also, but I've got Adobe Stock open here. I can also access it from my desktop application here and do a search directly from within this space. And if I just click, I'm just doing a search for some sunrise images here. And I can scroll down, and any images that I see that I like, and I particularly want to choose quite an orangey mountainous scene. Yes, here we go. This is the sort of thing that I want. I can then have various different options as what I do with this image. Now, you can see here I've got a preview image that I can download, which will basically be a lower resolution watermarked image. And I can save this to a variety of places. I can save it to my desktop, or I can save it to an existing Creative Cloud library, or I can indeed create a new library. So as soon as I've decided which image I want, it's then available for me in preview form to use across any of my compositions and creative elements. The reason it's really great to work using libraries in this form is that any instances that I use this preview image, if I then decide to license this image and say, yeah, that's the one I want to choose, I've auditioned a whole bunch of them, it's cost me nothing, it's taken nothing out of my subscription. Once I choose the one that I want to license, I can then do that directly from within my desktop applications. And I can also then ensure that all of those instances where I've used the preview image get replaced by the full high quality royalty-free licensed image that I've purchased. I can also choose to license it immediately if I'm absolutely sure that that's the one I want to work with. But I tend to work with these preview watermarked images in most of my work. So that's Adobe Stock. Again, we've got huge integration between Adobe Stock and our various other applications. So we'll see that in action in a second. So the next thing I'm going to do actually is, I think, to jump over in to show you some of the new mobile apps that we've released recently. So let me just jump into look at my iPad here. This is where you get to see my password. So let me just open that up. Okay, great. So you can see here there's a whole plethora of mobile applications. And now these are not just gimmicky toys, they're really, really powerful connected applications. And we're going to work through a few of them in a second. Adobe Comp is a particular favorite of mine, and we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail. But I just wanted to show you first a couple of brand new applications. So we have one here called Photoshop Fix. Now this really is for working with your photographic images. Let me just open this example file up here. There's all sorts of things I can do in here. I can do basic adjustments around exposure. I can bring up shadows, for example. I can drop back highlights, exposure, saturation, contrast, all of the sorts of things that you would expect to be able to do. I've also got some healing in here, so I can do things like some spot healing and just remove any blemishes, that sort of thing that I want to from within the image. I can also do more controversial things, like jump into liquify mode. And I can do things like, let's say I would like to swell the nose here a little bit, and let's make the eyes massive. There we go. I can do all that sort of thing. I'm not going to make her thinner, as there's so much controversy around that sort of photo adjusting, but as you can see, I've got all sorts of things I can do there. I can actually get facial recognition on here, and then I can start to play with the width there. I can start to distort the face and that sort of thing as well. So I've got that sort of connectivity now within here that once I'm happy with this rather bizarre looking image, I've then got the Creative Cloud sync enabling me to then send this image in a non-destructive way, in a way that I can continue to edit with Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, and also I can of course publish to Behance, and I can save down to my camera roll as a flattened image if I like. But I've also got this option at the top, Save to Library, which would then enable me to access and use this asset again wherever I want to across my mobile apps and desktop applications. So I'm not going to spend too much time on there. Do have a play with it. It's a free application. With your Creative Cloud account, you can log on and connect that to the rest of your applications. So the other thing that we've got is a new, more combined application called Adobe Capture. Now, let me just come back to the initial interface. Here we go. So this is a new application, but it's actually grouping together 4 of our very powerful capture apps that you've probably worked with before, or certainly may have been aware of some of them. The most commonly used one, and the one that was around for the longest, is Adobe Color, and that was our iteration of Cooler app. So Adobe Color now sits within here. We've also got Shape, which is extremely popular vector creating tool that you can capture images directly using your camera or photographic images. You can also create brushes for Illustrator, Photoshop, Sketch, etc., mobile apps using the brush tool. And Lux is Adobe Hue, as was, which creates lighting effects and colorized effects for video. So let's just jump through a couple of these so you can see how they're working now in here. I'm actually going to, this is Adobe Color. I could use this with my camera, but I'm just going to load in this image from my camera roll that I've got sitting within Photoshop Mix as well. And you can see automatically it's starting to pick up on some of the colors that I might want to work with in there. Let me just jump out of there. I'm going to choose a different image because I can also access all my Creative Cloud assets within here, and particularly here are my library assets. I'll just give them a little second to load. There we go. So here's the sunrise image that we looked at earlier. I'm just going to open up that image, and there we go. I've got the ability now to start extracting some of these colors, whichever ones I want to bring in to start working with in my other compositions. So there we go. That's getting somewhere nice there. Let's choose a slightly orangey look there. Once I'm happy with that, I just click Capture, and this is actually going to save this color theme into my Creative Cloud library. Now this is CC Unzipped is the library I'm working with for a particular app that I'm designing at the moment. So I've saved it into that library, but I can also create and access all my other libraries from within there too. So those color schemes are now going to be available to me across the board, across my other apps. Let's jump into Shape again. If I just quickly show you the sorts of things we can do with this, I'm actually going to grab the image from the camera roll. Here we go, of the girl, and I can choose more or less detail along there, but that will basically capture an outline, create smooth curves. I can go back, I can edit it, and let's just show the preview in action. There we go. So I can make something a little bit more moody if I want. There we go. So I can then use that as an editable, fully editable vector graphic. I can take it into Illustrator from my library once I'm happy with it, and then I can edit all of those paths, all of those fills, and use it, upscale it, etc. Use it in whatever way I like. So that's Adobe Shape. Hugely popular, really, really useful tool. I can also create brushes. I'm just going to add a brush. Let's browse to my Creative Cloud library assets here. Now I'm powering through this, but I've got so much cool stuff that I want to show you. I'm just going to jump to, let's see, where is it? a library here called medical. There we go. I've got a nice image of some molecules here, which will quickly create me a brush. So if I open that up, I am just going to adjust how much of that image is visible. It's a very small image because it's an Adobe Stock image that I'm using at the moment, a preview one, but I'm happy with that. So then I can quickly crop down this image to the size of the brush. Let's jump on through to the next stage, and there we go, I can see the brush in action. But I've also got the ability to edit this brush still further, so I can choose whereabouts the head and the tail happen, etc. I can jump into refine it, I can bring back a little more detail there, and I can also jump into my presets panel there where I choose whether the brush becomes a stretched one, whether it forms a mirror image of itself, or whether it's a linear brush. I can also increase the size of it, all that sort of thing. Fade it out, choose the way in which pressure and speed of stroke affects it. I can taper the image and all of that. So once I've done that, again, I can save that into a library and use that across my compositions. So let's come out of there. And the very last one that I want to show you in the Capture app is Adobe Hue, which I'll just give me 1 second to open up. I could use my camera for this, so if I'm out and I see a particularly amazing sunset, like this particular one here, or sunrise, let me just grab that in. Again, I can access images and library assets from the Creative Cloud. Everything's available to me wherever I want it. So let's just open up that file. Imagine we're looking at this through the camera. How nice would that be? But that basically will scroll through, work through various different options for me to capture color-wise. Let's just take that one in there. And then I can audition it, and I can increase the amount or decrease the amount over a video image. I can choose more predominant colours to work with within there, and I can get a really nice representation of different colour looks to then apply across any of my video compositions. So libraries exist not only within Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, and now Adobe Muse as well, which is a really fantastic enhancement, but also across Premiere Pro rather, and also After Effects. So I can apply these colour looks and add graphic styles, images, text styles, etc. to those compositions. Okay, so that's the new Capture app. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of an idea as to what you can do within there. I'm also now going to open up a pre-release version of Adobe Comp. Now this is such a fantastic, powerful composition tool, and is really designed for creating compositions for any of your desktop applications really, such as Photoshop, InDesign and Illustrator, and as I mentioned now also Adobe Muse. So with this app, I'm just going to open up a new composition. I've got, if I open this panel here, you can see there's all sorts of formats really handily put in there for you. You can also create new formats. I've actually created a new format here, which I'm going to work with. And from within this application, you can now use gesture modes to create and populate this layout with various different elements. So let's start off by doing that. I'm actually just going to draw an image placeholder within this frame here. That's automatically filling the frame for me, which is really handy. And actually I'm going to add an image from Adobe Stock within here. So as you see, I've got access to Adobe Stock directly within there, so I could now search for my sunrise, etc. I'm not going to do that. Let's just close that. I just wanted to show that that option's there. I've actually already, of course, got this image in my library. So let's just scroll down to the sunrise image, this preview image here. So now that's putting the image within the frame, and of course I can double click in there and reposition just as I would within InDesign and create the composition that I want there. So I'm happy with that image. That's going to be my background actually, so I'm going to lock that in place, and that means that's not going to shift around or get selected by accident. The other thing I want to do is to add in an image from another library. So let's just change this library. I'm going to, instead of adding it in a frame, I'm just going to add it directly from within my CC unzipped and I've got this logo here which I want to add in. There we go, this is an SVG file that's sitting within there, and I can easily resize this element and reposition it to where I want. You'll see in a second there's some smart guides that are going to appear. I'm just going to add in some headline text now, so I just do a rectangle with a dot after it. There we go, let's move that up there, and we'll just resize that frame, and I can select this text here, and I can say, let's call it Creative Cloud. And obviously that's too big for the frame, so I've actually got this slider here. If I'm just a little bit more careful, I can slide down the size of that font very quickly and easily, put it into place. I can also now jump into my text stylings, and I can access from here all of my typekit fonts, as well as the standard web fonts that are available to me. So I've got automatically a typekit license as part of my Creative Cloud account. I've got access to typekit fonts. So I could click on this add button, I can browse the typekit website for specific fonts that I want. There we go, they're all loading up there. I've actually got one already that I like in here. Let me just scroll down to it. Try not to scroll too fast because sometimes there's a delay on the camera and it can make you a little dizzy. There we go. So I'm going to choose this one here. I can actually now duplicate also this bit of text, which is quite handy because I actually want it to be the same, but I just want to, let's just choose a white theme for this. Oh, that's better if I have it selected. There we go. And I can, as I said, you'll see these smart guides appearing there, so I can easily line these elements up. Let's just remove that a little bit smaller. And I can change that text, etc. The other thing that I can do with text formatting styles is actually to access my library, and I can then jump into this is the library from documents library that I made earlier within Photoshop, and I can actually apply some of these formatting styles directly to that. That's of course made it a little bit small, but I can easily power that up. So that's the sort of thing that I can do with an Adobe Comp. I would love you to have a play with it because it's really, really powerful. I'm just going to open up a document that I've created already actually, and it's taking it a bit further. There's all sorts of different gestures that you can do. You'll see these images down here have actually got cropped rounded corners, which I can also edit still further. The way I created those was to literally do an image frame like that with a circle around it, around the corner, and that automatically creates these rounded corners. Can you see? I can then edit the amount of rounding on there, and then I can replace that frame with an image with this automatically masking it for me. So once I've created this layout, which I'm happy with now, I can then send it, as I mentioned, to InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, and also now brand new to Adobe Muse in the next release of this application. And this will then come in as a fully editable document. All of the layers will be there, all of the masking will be there, or the image frames, depending which application you're in, and all of the library assets that I've added to this document will still be linked to my Creative Cloud library. So super handy. I can also publish it up to work in progress to get some feedback on Behance, and share via more traditional means as well. So let me just jump back over to my desktop applications now, and I'm going to first of all take a look quickly at this document in Photoshop. Now I've actually added in something else into here because I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that we now have artboards for designing different layouts within Photoshop, which is so super handy and something that I know people have been wanting for a really, really long time. So this was the original document that was sent over, and you can see here are all the layers. You can see these icons here. This is the logo that we added from the Creative Cloud library, and all of these are fully editable and ready in place. Again, if I jump down here, you'll see this is an image frame with a mask around it, so that I've got this full quality image still available to me that was originally in the library, but it's got a mask placed around it to create these rounded corners. Now, if I want to create a new artboard, it's really, really handy. I just jump into the artboard tool, and I can do things like add in a artboard by clicking on these plus symbols here. I can choose the size of it from all sorts of setup presets for me. I can also choose custom sizes that I want to create. I can also get hold of the artboard. If you get hold of it by the name of the artboard here, and I hold down Alt key, I can duplicate an artboard, and that would create a whole new group of images and layers and assets for me to then create my other versions of these layouts. So super, super handy. I'm really delighted to have this within Photoshop. So let's jump out of Photoshop. I can't show you much more from within there, unfortunately, but I can quickly show you a really nice feature from within InDesign. So this is the document that's come over from our Adobe Comp application into InDesign, and you can see there's a whole load of assets in there. Again, all of the frames are there, all of the assets are in there nicely. I've got 3 images sitting underneath each other here to make this slideshow, and you can't see them all, but you will see them in a second. If I just quickly select those, I want to make a nice interactive slideshow from these elements. So I'm just going to make sure I've just got those assets selected. There's 3 images there, and I'm going to jump into our interactive object states, and I'm going to click on to new, and you can see those are the 3 images now appear nicely in there. I'm in the digital publishing layout here because I'm going to create this online published version of this document. So now the other thing I need to do is to create some buttons to actually operate this particular slideshow. So let's choose a button from here. I can give it a name. It's going to, on release or tap, it is going to add an action, and it's going to go to the next state. And let's now take this button, and we'll do the same, create a button. On release or tap, we're going to add an action, and let's go to previous state. There we go. That's all I need to do. That's now a slideshow in action. So let's now preview it using the EPUB Interactivity Preview tool. Is that going to show me anything? Let's wait for it to load up. There we go. And I can just check that this is going to do exactly what I want it to do. Yes, there we go. That's all fine. That's happening nicely. And then I can do something which is really useful for quickly getting interactive content out online through InDesign, is to click on Publish Online. Here we go. And I can add all sorts of elements within here. Again, you'll be able to look into this in more detail. But if I publish this up online now, it's going to create a web version of this document for me. Now, of course, I do have one that I made earlier. So let's jump over to that. Where is it? Here we go. This is the element here. So this is the document that's been published from InDesign. And let's just scroll through. There we go. There's the interactivity there. So there's loads of interactivity that you can add for both EPUB, for Publish Online, and for digital publications from InDesign. So you can make use of all of these elements and quickly get your content up and share it with others in an interactive online form. But that's not all. I mentioned Adobe Muse, and this is the layout that's come over from Adobe Comp that I've sent directly into Adobe Muse. You can see all of the assets are here, as I mentioned. And I've got now some incredibly powerful functionality within Adobe Muse, which lets me now create responsive layouts. So this is so fantastic because this is absolutely where we need our web content to go. I can create my various different layouts, adding in breakpoints. If I just scroll this scrubber across, you'll see how currently this content is obviously not going to rescale responsively correctly. I'd need to add in some breakpoints along the top here, and I can easily do that by just clicking up at this point to add a new breakpoint at whichever point I'm scrubbed to. So let me just show you very quickly how we can do some of that. I'm just going to jump back to this start screen again, and actually I'm going to recreate the background image, and I'm going to add in these top elements here. So I'm going to add in the logo and this title and banner text here, and we'll just add in a breakpoint quickly to show you how easy it is. Now, because these are going to appear across all pages, I'm actually going to add into this master slide here. So let's open up the master slide. I'm going to select these elements that I want to copy over, and I'm just going to copy them, and I will paste them into the master slide. So let's paste them there. In fact, let's undo that and let's say edit, paste and place. There we go. So they're absolutely going to be where I want them to be. Now, the next thing that I can do is actually browse my Creative Cloud libraries. As I mentioned, they're available from within Adobe Muse, and I'm going to choose this background image because I actually want to place this as my page fill, and I can do this directly from within the library. So rather than it just being an image sat in the page, I'm going to set it as my page fill. I'm going to jump to the fill here, and I'm going to choose scale to fill. This one here. There we go. So I've got my background image there. I can choose to pin it in various different ways, as you can see, so I can choose how it's positioned. I'm happy to pin it from the top left corner there. So there we go, great. The next thing I'm going to do is to select these elements here, and I'm actually going to group them together, and this essentially adds them to a div tag. And then I'm also going to group this one in as well. So I'm just starting to get a bit of control over how things are sitting within my layout here. Now I could also put these on different layers, of course, in the way that you could with Photoshop layouts, but that's how I'm going to work at the moment. And then I can do things like scaling and say, right, okay, it's starting to go a little bit haywire, so let's add in a breakpoint here. And at this point, if I jump into this element here, I can scale this element right down. I can select this text, and I can choose to either edit the formatting across all of the breakpoints for the text, or I can edit it across this particular breakpoint, and I can select it in here. I can take it down in size, let's take it down there, and equally I can take this one down in size, let's take it down to there, and I can reposition the other text to where I want it, etc. So you get the idea. So it's going to go from this point here, and then it's going to zoom down to this point, this 1054 here. Now you'll have to play around with this and have a little go, but I have again created one already. This is the element here, which has got all of these different breakpoints in, and you'll see if I just scroll it through to these different breakpoints, I can actually jump to them and scroll down the page. You'll see how the layout changes according to the width of the document, and I can of course then easily publish this online. I'm also, it's telling me that my Typekit account is linked nicely through my Creative Cloud plan, which is great. So all of those creative web fonts are going to be in place there. I've actually published this already in the interest of time, so let's jump over to it. This is the website here. And if I can just get hold of the edge, it's all created without making any code whatsoever. Here we go, this is the next layout down. And let's scrub in a little bit more. So we've got more of a vertical iPad there, and we'll get down to sort of closer to a phone size here. And you can see, so created the layout using Adobe Comp, using gestures and libraries and assets, taken it straight into Adobe Muse. No need for creating any code at all. I've created the responsive website and published it through Adobe Muse. I can also do some really, really nice things, and that is to set up in the publish process, or later on, I can actually set up various different editors, and I've got, this is an account that I've set up. Let's just put this in. This is the account that I've set up, so I'm working as a user here rather than an admin, and I'm then able to jump into this account, which I've been given access to this page, and I'm able to edit the elements within the document that I might want to update. So you can have in-browser editing for your customers, for your clients, easily edit text, and also easily edit and switch out images for different sizes. So you can see all the different resolutions that's created here for this output. So I could easily switch these items around. So that is pretty much bang on the time that I was hoping to get to. I know I've dashed through a load of different things there, so do give us a shout via the chat pod as to any questions that you might have. Once the desktop applications have been launched later in November, there'll be a whole load of new updates for you there. There's a load of stuff coming with that that's all really exciting. If you want to watch some of the footage of the Max content online, let me just close this here. This is the URL, so it's max.adobe.com/sessions/max-online. You'll be able to see all of the incredible speakers and product releases as part of that. Lots of really inspiring stuff. In the meantime, like I say, we will jump over to my colleagues to talk a little bit more about the various plans that are on offer for you first, and then we will go to the chat pod. So Luke, let me hand back to you.
Thanks, Iona. So I'm just going to pass this over to Ed Pontoni from Adobe. He's going to give us a bit of an insight into licensing for the Creative Cloud products and Adobe Stock. So over to you, Ed.
Hey guys, thank you very much, Luke. Thanks, Iona. Great presentation there. So yeah, as Luke said, I'm account manager at Adobe. I just wanted to briefly go over some the price points of Creative Cloud. So as you can see, the recommended retail price for the complete package, that gives everything that Iona went through. That's the storage, the libraries, the Creative Sync. That retails at $636 a year. Now, introducing with Stock as well, which is like Iona did go through as well, integrated with all the CC applications, a library of 40 million plus images, and that's £878 a year. Now, the impelling price at the moment that we've got, that's running until November the 27th, and that is for all customers that have still got CS3 and above products still in your estate and is still using. You can migrate to at this lower price, and this also locks you in for a price lock of 3 years, so a 2-year renewal, which is at the left-hand side, £456 a year, and then including with Stock, it's £697. And that's sort of just a brief overview of the pricing. I didn't really want to bore you guys with the pricing, but if you've got any other questions around this, let me know, and I'll hand back over to Luke. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Ed. So we're just going to go through and go on to a bit of a Q&A, and just going to go check out the questions pod, see if there are any questions available. So if you do have any questions, pop them in the questions pod. They're on the right hand side. Any questions for myself, Iona, or Ed, we'll be happy to answer those for the next 5 or so minutes. So let's see if we've got any questions in there currently. So question around Stock. So with the pricing that includes the stock images, how many stock images does that get you? Ed, how many images would that get you if you buy it with the license?
Those images, that will give you that with that pricing, it will give you 10 images a month. We also have a pack that's 750 images a month as well, which brings up the price a little bit more. That price, just the stock images by itself, is retail price £119 a month.
Okay, great. And can the images be shared with all the members of our team? Are they pooled?
So yes, the images are pooled, and that's linked with your VIP agreement. So anyone under the VIP agreement, all team members have access to those images. So yes, they do, yeah.
Okay, question from Russell.
It's probably worth mentioning as well, I believe it's correct, that, it's probably worth mentioning as well that if you don't use all of your 10 images per month, they will get carried over for a period of time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That rolls over for the whole of the year as well. So if you don't use any images for 2 months, the 3rd month you will then get 30 images.
Okay, great. Russell's just asked, he would love to share this presentation with his team. Yes, Russell will be sending out the recording to everyone that attended and everyone that registered after this webinar. So quick question about the features. Iona, you mentioned that some of them are pre-release or in beta format. Do you know when they will actually be fully released and available to Creative Cloud users?
So the desktop applications that I showed you, there is some functionality in preview form for InDesign Publish Online in the current version, but there is a lot more coming. I believe it's around the 24th of November, but don't quote me on that. It could change, but it is certainly due for rollout the desktop applications towards the end of November. The mobile applications are all available already, apart from the version of Adobe Comp which you can send to Adobe Muse, but that is coming, as you've seen. I've got it as a working version, and the Muse and Comp teams are working currently very, very hard to get that ready for the November release time as well. So the applications, the library assets, stock, all of that, that's all available to you now. There's some additional functionality that I showed you within Photoshop with regards to the library, and that will be part of the Photoshop November release towards the end of this month. But otherwise, all the mobile apps are available now, ready to go.
And are all the mobile apps available on all operating systems, iOS, Android?
No, not actually. But I believe Adobe Capture will be across Android and iOS. Everything's on iOS, but we're basically waiting to roll out the applications that are the most popular on iOS will then be developed for Android. So they are in the pipeline if they're popular and successful. I'm sure Adobe Comp will be coming soon in that platform, and Photoshop Mix, I believe, is across both as well.
Thank you.
If you want more information on the mobile apps, you can access via the Adobe website, and I'll give you a full rundown because there are quite a lot of them. So you might want to take a little look at the website just to see what does what, and work out which ones are actually appropriate to you, because they are all associated with desktop applications now. So there's a whole bunch of Illustrator vector-based mobile apps, as well as more pixel-based Photoshop apps, as well as the layout tools that I've mentioned today as well.
Okay, great. A question for Ed. There's obviously a lot of stock vendors out in the market today, Shutterstock. What makes Adobe Stock different?
Yeah, so we're really investing heavily in our creatives and giving them fantastic prices for their for submitting their artwork. So we're intending to increase the stock library dramatically. There's already 44 million beautiful image assets, and they're available to you. And there's also video assets coming as well via Adobe Stock. But what really sets us apart is the competitive price point, which we think is extremely good, but also this full integration, being able to access and add assets from directly within your desktop applications as well as your mobile applications, and easily share those via Creative Cloud libraries or via your file sharing capabilities within the Creative Cloud. So you're easily able to work seamlessly and fast and manage those assets across your teams.
Okay, great. Just hold on for maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. If anyone's got any questions, then just fire them in the pod. But as I said, this presentation will be sent out afterwards, so you have that to review. If you do have any Creative Suite licenses in your estate that you do wish to upgrade and move to Creative Cloud before the promotion ends, the sort of deadline date is the 27th of November to get that migration price of 3 years. So do please give us a call or request a call back, and we'll call you back to discuss that further. But if there is no further questions, then thank you so much, Iona, for your fantastic presentation, and thank you, Ed, for your licensing knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and have a good day.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.